The society in the world of Boku no My Hero Falcodemia has a pretty well established idea of who is capable of becoming a real standout pro hero in the world, using the original number one hero, All Might, as sort of a roadmap for that, with a lot of people believing that you have to do certain things, such as go to UA or have a strong public image, to make it to the top in the pro hero business. Though one of the top rated heroes in all of Japan stands opposed to all of these factors, this being the carefree covert Chordata, Keigo Takami, also known as the winged hero, Hawks.
Don't bite my head off, Endeavor. I just now flew in.
Keigo Takami, or Hawks, was the third-rated pro hero in all of Japan, who became the second highest-rated hero throughout the course of Hero Aca's story. And he's one of the fastest-growing young talents in the pro hero world, some even describe him as moving too fast. But what makes his rise to the top in the pro hero scene more impressive is that he lacks most traits that people say are required to become a top-rated hero. Be it that he keeps his name a secret, he's very outspoken against fakey-sounding heroics, and he's never attended UA. There's even more buried beneath the surface, but before we get too into that, we should discuss the meaning behind his name and his design. Keigo Takami is a densely packed name that helps convey Hawk's role in the story of Hero Aca, along with his own personal ideas quite well. Starting first with his given name, Keigo, which when broken down means to disclose enlightenment or understanding. Given his role in the story so far has been to act as a double agent for the Hero Public Safety Commission and disclose information about the League of Villains and Metahuman Liberation Army to pro heroes, which then in fact led to pro heroes surprise raiding the facilities. I feel like this name fits him quite well. Along with this, Keigo is also a form of Japanese honorifics, which is done to show respect to those who you're speaking to. And with Keigo being a very professional way of speaking, but Hawks being not so respectful at times, it's possible that his name is a reference to this because he is a pro hero who was more or less made by a corporation, and corporations is where people would be most likely speaking with Keigo honorifics. Then you have his family name Takami, which when broken down means hawk and to see or who sees, which appears to be a play on the term of phrase eyes of a hawk, which plays well with Hawks' own personality, as he's a very perceptive person and picks up on things that a lot end up missing, such as Endeavor's own struggle to rebuild the bridge to success that All Might more or less annihilated when he became the number one pro hero, as Hawks respected Endeavor's work and saw through his ironically icy personality to see the true hardworking hero underneath. Though he's not just good at reading people, he's also very deceptively perceptive, as when he is patrolling, he does so in a leisurely fashion to give off the illusion that he's not paying much attention, and it's through this that he's able to gather such incredible intel, even being able to pick up on things not even disclosed to the public, like Gran Torino's own investigation team. Though outside of the term of phrase, the Hawk portion of his name also plays well with his original intended design, with Horikoshi saying that Hawks was supposed to have a direct design lift from Takahiro from Crazy Zoo, one of Horikoshi's previous works, though after Studio Bones approached Horikoshi asking if they can use Takehiro's design in one of their upcoming movies, alongside the lukewarm reaction from his staff to the idea of a bird person being the number two hero, he changed Hawk's design to be a more safe and cool looking person with just a bird aesthetic to him. He also decided to make him the hottest looking character in the series, just to spite everyone who questioned him. Don't deny Horikoshi and his love of bird people. And like other pro heroes in the series, Hawks has lended his name to marketing products in the universe of Hero Aca, with the Model Hawks watch by the Vintage W company, which is likely a reference to real life watch brands like IWC, Rolex, and even Knight's own Hawk brand watches, but I couldn't find an exact model that matches the one that Hawks is wearing in the promotional image. But I'm also not too literate on watches. Though speaking of designs, Hawks' own design seems to have a lot of references built into it. First with his hero costume, obviously being designed to match that of a fighter pilot with his uniform and jacket, but you also have his visor and headphones, which also are obvious references to fighter pilots, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were a subtle nod to the Gatchamen as well with their bird-like visors. Also, his costume underneath is reminiscent of both Marvel's Angel and Archangel, with the design being similar to Archangel's uniform, but the colors being more close to Angel's hero costume. And on top of that, the wings are similar in a sense, though we'll discuss that after we talk more about his quirk, that quirk being Fierce Wings, also known in Japanese as Just Wings or Justice Wings. Fierce Wings is a mutation quirk that grants Hawks two massive wings full of dozens of crimson red feathers, all varying in sizes and use cases. cases. And this set of wings obviously offers Hawks the ability to fly, and he's become quite a natural at it, but how it works is a little strange, as Hawks can freely manipulate the feathers within his wings with his mind, allowing him to lift himself off the ground and fly around. The flapping that he does seems to be more or less for cosmetic purposes rather than being required, and these feathers are the real show stealer of his quirk, with them being able to be shot out like projectiles, doing so in a similar way to a fighter pilot, or even just throwing knives, but he also can use them to save people, with each individual feather having an incredible strength of their own, being able to lift and move a person with ease, and with that incredible strength and the firing capabilities, they can also be fired in a lethal capacity as well. Though being a pro hero, Hawks prefers not to do this. And along with that, he's also able to use his larger ones as blades if he needs to. Though these feathers also act as an incredible intel tool, sensing vibrations in the air and alerting Hawks to dangers that might be coming his way. And due to this, he's able to work in a very lackadaisical way while also always being on high alert. And this is likely the reason that he does flap his wings when he is in flight, because it spreads the feathers around in a way that doesn't give off the fact that he's actually setting up vocal espionage spies via his feathers, as he is able to decode messages and voices from his feathers' own air detection abilities. Though these feathers are a finite resource when he is working, and if he spreads them too far, he not only loses the ability to fly, but also most forms of self-defense, as he's not physically strong like other pro heroes. And if the feathers themselves are destroyed, it takes roughly 2 days to regrow a whole new set, and will put him out of commission for a bit if he doesn't have any reserve feathers. Though he usually doesn't have to worry about running out of feathers, as his utter speed overwhelms his target and he apprehends them before they have much of a chance to defend themselves. He is the hero who is too fast after all, and as a testament to Fierce Wing's ability, Hawks was able to overwhelm Twice's super move, Sad Man's Parade, by himself. But there is one direct counter to Hawks' own feathers, and it's not him running out, it's flame, as his feathers are extremely flammable, and a powerful flame quirk can burn through his resources in seconds. Now these wings and Hawks' role in the story seem to be inspired directly by Marvel's Angel and Archangel, not only with his wings being a double-layered reference, being both biological or natural like Angel's wings were, but also with them containing blades like Archangel and being able to be shot like Archangels. But Hawks also is living a double life on both sides of the world, being a hero and technically a villain, as the Hero Public Safety Commission has tasked Hawks with the job of infiltrating the League of Villains and helping destroy them from within. Though why did they turn to Hawks specifically? Well, let's just say Hawks was raised for this kind of work, as when he was just a little kid, Keigo didn't have much growing up. He lived in poverty on the island of Kyushu in Fukuoka, and it was here Keigo developed a fascination with a certain pro hero, one who shined brighter than the rest. This was the flame hero Endeavor, a man he saw as someone who got his job done and moved on to the next case, outperforming the symbol of peace himself in cases completed. And in an attempt to emulate his shining idol, at an extremely young age, Keigo used his quirk and saved a bunch of people from a high-speed crash. And this act of heroics caught the attention of the Hero Public Safety Commission, and they offered the boy an amazing deal. He would join the government program for gifted and talented quirk users and work exclusively for the Hero Public Safety Commission. And in return, his family would be pulled out of the slums and they would never want for anything ever again. Basically, he would move from poverty to high class. Keigo agreed to these terms and soon would be told to dispose of his old name, forever being known as the wing-heroed Hawks. And his training was difficult, but Hawks over the year not only learned to master his quirk, but he became a master of deception, infiltration, and manipulation. And we can see these espionage tactics displayed a few times in the series, as Hawks is able to not only get a lot of information out of people by sweetening them up, as seen when he gets Twice to spill details about the Metahuman Liberation Army's plans to him, or in how he subtly picks at information from Tokiyami and other UA students to get the details on what's going on there. He even has a restaurant that he brings students to on occasion when he wants to lure them into a sense of security. But on top of that, we even see that even though Hawks claims to not be able to contain his own inner thoughts and shows off his exaggerated movements when listening to the pro heroes drone on about their pointless heroic speeches, he's actually very capable of hiding his emotions or even subtly displaying to others what he is thinking when he can't communicate through words, as seen when he gives Endeavor a secret message about the Metahuman Liberation Army's plans through the highlighted pages in a book. He's also quick on his feet when it comes to lying and making it sound good, like when he comes up with an excuse for Dabi on why he rescued all the people during the high-end fight. And Hawks' own cunning and ability to deceive people really makes him into a raptor of both physical and social situations, him being able to mask his intentions before he strikes, and maybe that's why Horikoshi made his favorite food bird-based meals, even though he was bird-inspired. Though speaking of his inspirations, aspects of his backstory were actually inspired by the soccer player Lionel Messi, who was scouted by the Barcelona soccer team for being an extremely talented youth at the sport, though his father soon lost his job and couldn't afford life-saving medicine for Messi that combated his growth hormone deficiency. But the FC of Barcelona decided to make a deal with him. They would cover all of his medical costs if he were to move to Spain and exclusively play for them in their soccer league. He accepted this gracious offer. Messi went on to be one of the most decorated athletes in sports history, let alone soccer, with him holding a club record of holding over 34 different soccer-based trophies, but also he was considered by Forbes to be the second highest paid athlete in history. And after Horikoshi heard about this story during the World Cup by one of his editors, a week later he crafted aspects of it into Hawks' own life story. Though back to Hawks, when he was just 18, he started up his own hero agency, and half a year later he was already ranked among the top 10 heroes in Japan. And then by his 22nd birthday he was already number 3, and of course over the course of the story we see him not only turn 23, but also become the number 2 hero. He is the fastest growing talent in the pro hero scene and has even adopted a moniker because of it. He is the hero who is too fast. Though Hawks didn't really want to become a pro hero for fame or even to escape poverty. Those were benefits. What he wanted to do was be a hero that could beat enough bad guys that the ones that he idolized could have time to kill. You might notice that he adopted a similar work ethic to that of Endeavor, where he's constantly working and trying his best to solve as many cases as possible. And he works incredibly hard to help those he cares about, acting as great support for both hero work and personal training, as seen best in his teamwork with Endeavor, but most importantly in his training of Tokoyami, as not only does he take him under his wing because they're birds of a feather, but because he saw potential in him from the sports festival. But he never seemed to be so focused on training Tokoyami and more so trying to get information from his school from him. And that frustrated Tokoyami, but he continued to work with Hawks because he was the number 3 hero at the time, who then became the number 2. But Hawks pointed out something that really motivated Tokoyami. He was squandering his talents by staying grounded, and this made him develop the Black Fallen Angel technique, which is actually a rather cool use of his quirk. Though one of the main reasons he picked Tokoyami is because he was from UA and so that he could obtain information from him. In fact, this is how Hawks is likely so good at reconnaissance and gathering intel. He finds a way to help someone while gaining information from them subtly. And this is why he was specifically picked for the Hero Public Safety Commission's new job, as he would be using those skills to the fullest, as he was tasked with infiltrating the League of Villains and gathering as much intel on their inner workings and who's among them so the heroes can adapt to any of their plans. And given his training, along with his established total loyalty to the Public Safety Commission, he was perfect for the job, and thus he joined the League of Villains under the guise of being sympathetic towards their cause. And the reason that his act was so believable and bought by most people within the League of Villains was because there was truth behind some of Hawks' words. He actually isn't fond of the status quo of Hero Society, and feels that not only does he not deserve the spotlight that he gets, but he could say the same for other pro heroes at the top, as he personally believes those at the top shouldn't be based on just cases solved or sympathetic votes like Best Genus got, as they don't make for good protectors in times of crisis, and the old way of Hero Society needs to change. To him, what we need is 10 Endeavors, 10 people who not only get the job done, but put people's hearts at ease when they show up, and not 10 people trying to be All Might. And this being on the sides of both heroes and villains is, as I said, assumedly a direct reference to Angel and Archangel from Marvel fame. And there's even subtle nods to the origin in both, one of the best ones being that Hawks is shown to the readers working for the League of Villains after the destruction of his feathers when he assisted Endeavor during a battle against one of the high-end Nomus. And this is similar to when Angel became Archangel after the loss of his wings. Along with this, Hawks flip-flapping between actually being sympathetic for villains and being on the side of good also seems to be a reference to Archangel and Angel being a shifting personality for the character. As after Angel regrew his wings for the second time, the wings Apocalypse gave him regrew over top them, causing him to constantly shift between having natural wings and metallic wings, and shifting between being evil and good. And as I mentioned, Hawks actually wasn't lying when he said he was sort of sympathetic for members of the League, specifically twice, as he considered him to be a good person the more he got to know him, and wanted to give him a second shot at life, trying his best to get him to surrender when they were raiding the Meta Liberation Army's location. Though, sympathy only goes so far, and Hawks was trained to get his mission done, and he doesn't allow emotions to cloud that judgment. He eliminates twice when he refuses to surrender, which harkens back to when Hawks first accepted this mission him saying that he isn't opposed to getting his hands dirty if it means ensuring the safety of society, though he doesn't do it without a heavy heart. In fact, most of Hawks' inner monologue and facial expressions give off the idea of someone who is shackling a lot of guilt deep down and hiding it. Not only does he actively endanger his idol, but he also has to live a lie around him. But on top of that, he also seemed to have had to silence Best Jeanist to win favors from the League, and then right after that, when he thinks he can save one of the only redeemable people from the League of Villains, he's forced to murder them for his mission. And it is this mission that I also feel is Hawks' best literary reference, and one thing that I saw him as since he was introduced in the series, and that being that Hawks is referencing Icarus, and that this mission is him flying a little too close to the sun. And we can see some aspects of the ancient Greek myth Icarus in Hawks' own design. Not only with his feathers being naturally weak to flames, which is an obvious play on Icarus' wax wings, but much like Icarus was told not to fly too high, Hawks is often referred to as flying too fast. He even has to rely on sidekicks to clean up his messes while he's already working the next case. And I feel like this Icarus symbology plays best when talking about Hawks' relationship to Endeavor, as the closer he keeps getting to his own personal idol and son, Endeavor, the more that history shows up and burns away his wings, and the vengeful flame that burns those wings takes the form of the villain Dabi, who is the leading cause in Hawks losing his wings, not only being the one who unleashed a high-end Nomu earlier than promised in a place that wasn't promised, which resulted in Hawks having to burn away most of his feathers to assist Endeavor, but also during the Metahuman Liberation Army raid, where Dabi personally cremated Hawks' wing. Dabi also seems to have a close connection to Endeavor, speaking to him in a very familiar tone, as if they were family, and sharing some traits with one of Endeavor's late sons, Toya, leading people to theorize that Dabi is Toya, and the closer that Hawks gets to Toya, the more he burns his wings. But it also seems that Dabi has his hands in some good intel networks, because he was able to learn Hawks' own real name, which is a government-protected secret, and hidden from the public. So there's probably a connection between Dabi and the Hero Public Safety Commission, which could bleed into the Dabi is Toya theory, as in maybe they picked up a assumedly dead Todoroki and rebranded him as a villain. But that's of course just a theory on my part, and this is a video about Hawks, so let's get back to talking about him. Though, unlike Icarus, whose ego drove him to fly too close to the sun, Hawks was forced into it. But on his flight, he did manage to teach others how to fly as well, and this might result in him being caught before his fall turns fatal. Now, Hawks stands as one of the best characters in the whole of Hero Aca, from his attention-grabbing introduction to his interesting position that he finds himself in during the story of Hero Aca, and of course his childhood training painting the universe's setting as a little grayer than we thought before. And I hope that he does manage to survive this current arc, as he's one of my personal favorites, but if he doesn't, he'll go out acting as a great example of Horikoshi's great writing, and I imagine that his death will be very similar to Sir Night Eyes, with him either informing Endeavor or Tokiyami of Dabi's real identity, as it is information that he was told, but kept secret from the readers, meaning it will come up later, hopefully. He's also really hot, so I just don't want him to die. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MetiNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to soar higher than other pro heroes and do things similar to Hawks, well, you can do so by buying a copy of Shimonetta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, at buyshimonetta.com.